At Summer Stage? Oh, I'm sorry I didn't say, say hi and stuff. Oh, you watched it on the. That's great. Then you were with us anyway. But it's okay that I didn't see if I didn't. Hello. How are you?
And I think we got really good mixes. And I set up an instant.
Is that what?
Ben opens and we're at the
they tripped.
Well,
I was just downstairs and I saw like three people pushing the door really quickly. Nobody went down.
so I'm gonna email.
Yeah.
So here's what we could do. I brought this for the ritual. Do you want to not use it? And you can just use it, or you can take it off.
I think if you're doing the nice thing and then just do the thing and then you'll just be like, I forgot my stuff every time.
Honestly, I don't want to take that off. I think it's celebration.
Well, then don't wear it. If that's what you
I
want.
feel weird not wearing it.
So do I, but completely up to you.
It's gonna be great. You want to be in it together?
It's not that big of a deal.
Because
Because I don't really keep them, so.
as David knows, I love a messy look.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me well? Okay, my voice is a little raspier tonight, so thank you so much for bearing with me. Thank goodness we have the mic, right? I am Rabbi Bacon, and I am excited to be up on this bema with Cantor Danielle Runwiski. And we've got Pete Mallenburney on the piano. And I don't want to embarrass him too much, but we've got Warren Haber out in the community, our temple president. So we often notice blessings when we haven't had them in a while. And I've been thinking a lot about the blessing of being together outside. I mean, I haven't been here in a little bit. I'm excited to be reunited with all of you. But I know that you guys haven't been outside either. So I just want to take time to acknowledge that we get to be in this beautiful breeze out here in this tent together. And this is our last Shabbat before we start gearing up for the month of Elul. So our hope for tonight is that we can relax and enjoy before we gear up for those holidays. So I want us to take a moment, turn to your neighbor, and if you're on live stream, turn to those next to you, or you can wave back to us. And just wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, say hi.
Once you've greeted your neighbor, we're going to turn to page 142 to begin our process of warming up to welcome Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem. First, we're going to do candles. We're not going to do what I'm saying.
We're so excited. And I really am excited to call up David Anders, who will be our darshan tonight with his family, to bring a little light to our evening together.
All
friend was just bar mitzvah this past year. Oh, he wants me.
I was bar mitzvah a couple years ago.
Okay, there you go. So you can give it a light. I'll put the glass back on.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Thank you.
And now we will turn to page 142 to continue warming ourselves up for Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem. We welcome the angels. We bless the angels. And when finally Shabbat will end tomorrow evening, we say goodbye to the angels reluctantly, waiting all those next 6 days for them to return next Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Your voices sound so wonderful. So nice. And we're going to continue that with Lecha Dodi on page 138, singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekaberai. זכור בדיבור אחד, כי השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולי תהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. Verse 5, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה.
We remain standing for the Baruchu, page 146.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. Human beings tend to like things that are opposites, because that is how we process the world around us. Day and night, light and dark, cold AC and the heat of the tent or the sun. We can only truly understand something by realizing what it is not. We use comparison and contrast all the time in order to interpret and internalize our surroundings. Perhaps this is why in our Torah portion this week, Re'eh, we read about blessings and curses. We need each to understand the other. In our Jewish calendar, we are experiencing this now as the fact that the commemoration of destruction and calamity on Tisha B'Av began the process that leads us to the celebration of creation and new beginnings on Rosh Hashanah. We need that darkness in order to fully experience the light. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. See, I set before you this day blessing and curse. We have blessing and curse, light and darkness given to us every single day. Which will we choose to see today? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 150. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'lahem negeh yomam v'layla be'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים.
we will sing the Micha Mocha, a prayer of journeys. But first tonight, I am honored to call up to the Bima Sydney Friedman to bless her before a journey of her own. So Sydney, I'm going to have you stand here so you could kind of look at me. I'm going to move you around a little bit. As she will soon be traveling to Israel, planning to spend the entire next year there. And we'll see what happens after that. The first word in this week's Torah portion is ro'eh. It is a command to see. Poignantly, this week's Parshat Re'eh prepares the people, our people, to see and enter into the land, Haaretz, the same land, thank you, in which you, Sydney, will be headed shortly. In this Parsha, we learn about the power of choice. Sydney, I know that your decision to go to Israel was a careful and loving consideration out of your desire to learn more about the culture and people of the Jewish homeland, and not only to be shaped by it, but also to help shape it in return, to serve as an active member of society. Leaving home is rarely easy, but we hope you find comfort in knowing that you embark on this journey with a special message from Torah. So I said that Re'eh refers to sight, but we also know from Psalm 23, Adonai Ro'i, God is my shepherd, that Ro'eh implies not just vision, but also guidance and protection. May this week's Parsha be a reminder to you that as you explore the same land our ancestors shall soon enter in the Torah, God shall serve you as a shepherd, protecting you with each new step. So I want to invite your parents up for a second to wrap this talit around you. May this talit mimic God's shelter of peace and the love of your family and your community standing here back home behind you.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. And you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. And you shall be a blessing. Lechi for falafel. She said tears of joy for falafel, and everyone needs to know that.
As we wish Sydney and Nisiat Tova a safe and wonderful trip, we turn together to the Micha Mocha on page 158.
Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehi ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 160. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath your wings, oh Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, oh Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Keep us strong, come from right. Amen, 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 We rise in body or in spirit, and we turn to page 164 as we enter our Amidah. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chastei Havot ve'Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We take time to pray silently, either with the meditations of your heart or with the words of our Siddur. And when you are ready, you may be seated.
Peace, peace will come, and let it begin with me. Peace, peace will come, peace will come. Let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. We need peace. We need peace. Let it begin. Let it begin with me. Oh, my own life is all I can hope to control. Oh, let my life be lived for the good of my soul. Let it bring peace, sweet peace, sweet peace. Peace will come, peace will come. Let it begin, let it begin with me. Peace will come, peace will come, it begin with me. Peace will come. Peace will come. Peace will come. Let it begin with me. Oh, my own life is all I can hope to control. Oh, let my life be lived for the good of my soul. Let it bring peace, sweet peace, sweet peace. Peace will come, peace will come, and let it begin with me.
I feel so lucky tonight to be introducing two wonderful congregants, the second being David Anders, whose claim to fame is not only having grown up in Scarsdale at WRT, not only being married to Westchester County's District Attorney Mimi Roca, and not only being father of his wonderful children, Sabrina and Aaron, who recently celebrated his bar mitzvah this past fall. David is also a lawyer for the law firm Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz. His practice focuses on the representation of companies in connection with the defense regulatory, white-collar criminal, and complex civil litigation matters. He also regularly advises clients in connection with internal investigations and corporate governance and compliance reviews. Prior to joining this firm, David served as an assistant United States attorney for the Southern District of New York from September 1998 through December 2005. During his time there, he investigated and prosecuted a wide variety of securities, commodities, and other investment fraud schemes, money laundering, immigration, racketeering, and associated violent crime. He tried 13 felony cases to verdict and briefed and argued numerous appeals before the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. He was involved in several significant prosecutions during that time, including the investigation and prosecution of the fraud at WorldCom. In other words, don't mess with David. David, we are so glad you are with us tonight, and we cannot wait to hear the wisdom and insight you have to offer us. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rabbi Bacon. That was a little scary to me to hear that introduction. Thank you, Cantor Rodnitsky, and thank you, Rabbi Blake in absentia, for inviting me to speak with you tonight and giving me the opportunity to address this week's Torah portion called Re'eh, which comes from the book of Deuteronomy. It's a long portion containing several different themes. The preamble, as we've heard a little bit, talks of blessings and curses. Blessings to those who obey God's commandments, and curses to those who don't. And I immediately saw what a great portion this would be for someone celebrating a bar bat mitzvah. A 13-year-old, soon-to-be adult, with their whole life in front of them, thinking about the really critical choices about how to live your life, how to make the right choices, how to, as Spike Lee aptly put it, do the right thing. Well, I missed my chance to think about this particular passage at my bar mitzvah. I did celebrate it here at WRT, but sadly, and this, when I thought about it, got me a little bit, maybe the word is freaked out. It was 41 years ago, almost exactly. It was September of 1982 when I read from the Torah right inside the congregation, over the sanctuary over there. So it's a little too late for me to think about this week's Torah portion in terms of looking forward, But it's a great opportunity to think about how some of the things I've experienced and gone through apply to some of the messages in the portion, and to think about some of the things that have already come up in my life. Now, as I noted, there's a lot of material in this week's Torah portion, but there are two themes that jumped out at me as good topics to discuss. In this portion, Moses tells the Israelites that they will live in this new land, enjoy prosperity, and have victory over their enemies. And they are told that God is going to take care of them. The people should expect to be prosperous and have the power that comes with that wealth. It's written, "You will extend loans to many nations, but you will require none yourself. You will dominate many nations, but they will not dominate you." But with this power, with this prosperity, comes responsibility. And those are the two themes I want to discuss briefly tonight: the responsibility of those who have power and the responsibility of those who have prosperity. Now, I recognize in these, I think they're safe to call them turbulent times, I could easily talk about certain recent leaders of our country who consistently seem to act irresponsibly with power and the consequences that have come from those actions. But we read about that every day, and that would be boring for me to talk about. So I'm going to be a little bit more personal and tell about some stories and things that I've experienced that sort of apply to these themes. Now, as you heard, before I joined my current law firm, Wachtell Lipton, I worked as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, and let me say that's the best job ever for a lawyer. And I'll never forget, from the day that I was hired, hearing about the immense power that a federal prosecutor has. The power to help victims reset their lives, the power to decide what crime should be charged against a defendant and what prison sentence to ask for, the power to take a leap of faith and give someone deserving a break, or to not do that. Prosecutors affect lives every day, and they're really young. I was 29 when I got the job as a federal prosecutor, and so you have, at a very young age, this really immense power and the need to exercise it responsibly. And I could tell probably literally hundreds of stories about my time as an AUSA that demonstrate the virtues or the risks or the difficult situations of how to exercise that power responsibly. I'll tell just one. I don't know if it was the best one, but it's the one I thought of. So I worked in a long-term investigation of a loosely organized drug ring. There were about 50 people, and they were all buying kilogram quantities of cocaine from one person. His name was Joseph Sapia. Now, unfortunately for all these people, and really mostly for Mr. Sapia, we had a wiretap on Joe Sapia's phone. And we listened to calls for months, and all day long, people would call up Joe. I need one, I need two, meet me here, meet me there. These didn't seem like particularly violent people, and they certainly weren't very organized. They were sort of all sorts of people who they were needing cocaine so they could sell it. And so they knew who to call. They called Joe. Now, as you can imagine, people in this line of work, they don't call up and say, "Hi, can I please have a kilogram of cocaine? How much will you be charging me?" They talk in code. Meet me at 35th Avenue meant the cost would be $35,000. I need a battery was one word people used. That battery was a kilogram of cocaine. Well, we investigated these really, at least 50, maybe more people who would call all this phone. And there was one person who really stood out. He really seemed to fit the mold. He was a little bit older, and he had just gotten out of prison for a serious crime, and by all appearances was returning to the drug dealing that he had done before to get back on his feet. And we intercepted a call one day in which he said he needed a pair of pants and to meet him on 33rd Street. And so we knew we had him. A kilo of cocaine for $33,000. And so along with all the other people, we went to a grand jury and brought indictment and had a big takedown and arrested all sorts of people. And then we were going through the process of getting more information about these folks, and I sat down with a very senior person in this group whose name was, well, it wasn't his name. His nickname was Pig. I have another story about him, but Mimi said it's not appropriate for this. It's not like inappropriate. it just doesn't fit the themes. But I'll tell that story later. Well, I sat down with Pig, and we went over the whole list of people, and we were going through the various people and where they sold drugs and what they did, and I came to the pants guy, and he said, well, he's not a drug dealer. He just got out of prison. I said, wait a minute, Pig, look at this call, a pair of pants on 33rd Street. He said, well, yeah, he actually needed a pair of pants. And we met him at 33rd Street, and they gave it to him. He was just trying to get on his feet. I said, wow. It's not what I was expecting to hear from Pig that day. Now, this person's fate was in my hands. This was just a cooperating witness. Pig was no angel. And we had other evidence, and I could have just sort of left it to the jury and sort of just proceeded with the case. I had that power, but that seemed wrong. That would not have been a responsible exercise of power, and so we dismissed the charges. And that was actually as good as I had ever felt as a prosecutor, because we made a mistake, we recognized it, and we moved on. Now, the second theme that I want to talk about is directed to those who are prosperous and the responsibility that entails. Now, as I noted, this week's Torah portion, in this week's portion, Moses tells the Israelites that they will be prosperous. But chapter 15 recognizes that there will also be those that are needy. God commands us to open your hand to the poor and needy in your land. If there is a needy person among you, do not harden your heart and shut your hand against them. Open your hand and give whatever is sufficient to meet the need. And so the instruction from that portion seems obvious and seems easy, certainly to all of us in this room who are coming out to Friday night services. But as you might imagine, in other walks of life, people don't always make those choices. And as life unfolds, people make decisions that sometimes we wish they wouldn't have made. I'll just give one more brief example from my days as a prosecutor where I witnessed somebody who was in a position of power and prosperity who didn't make the right choice. As you heard, I worked on the investigation and prosecution from the fraud at WorldCom, and the central figure in that case was a man named Bernie Ebbers. Ebbers was the personification of power and being prosperous. He was on the cover of magazines. He was labeled the telecom cowboy. He was really larger than life, as his company had one acquisition after another. But he did not heed the words that I just read, and he did not exercise his power and prosperity responsibly. And it ultimately led to his downfall, and I was the prosecutor at his trial and saw firsthand what had happened. And then really sadly, he was convicted of several crimes and ended up serving just about the rest of his life in prison. So the lesson of being responsible when prosperous, while sort of seemingly easy, isn't easy. And it's really something we all need to think about, because it takes effort and it takes focus, and it's something you need to really concentrate on and do. Now, one other comment about this week's portion, it doesn't really take the macro view. It's very easy sometimes to think think big, make a single big donation to a charity or a foundation and think you've sort of done your job. And don't misunderstand, that's good, and we should all do that too. But this portion really tells us that that's not really enough. You should really think about your community. And it's okay to think small. That is, like, look local, look to the people around you. Think about your community, do little things, show up. Help those around you. Little things that help our community really are often way more important than some big donation or something else. It's just really helping people around you is really a really important message, I think, that comes from this week's portion. So those are some of the few great lessons from this week's portion. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have thought about them and to have shared some of the thoughts with you. So Shabbat Shalom.
David, it's like you knew the Misha Berach was coming next, right? Because so much of what you spoke about was power and need. And we don't all have the power to save a life, but we do have the power to pray and to think of those in need. So we think of those, our loved ones, within our community, indirectly within our community. As I gaze across the room and my eyes meet yours, I invite you to recite the name of a loved one who you are thinking about tonight that is in need of our prayers. We'll start on this side. Today, WRT is holding in our hearts Binyamin Ben Reuven, Jennifer Leventhal, Jeffrey Millman, Malka Gila Badbina, Emerson Lorenzoni, Luis Schulman, Tova Bat Esther, Robin Weitz, Stephen Gilberg, Yochanan Ben Sipora, Judy Balsam, Elana Bat Shmuel, Chaya Fega Bat Leah, Leah Bat Nina Bat Benjamin, Rachel Bracha, Matthew Atwood, Anthony and Elizabeth Dankner, Deborah Kapnick, Andrew Goldstein, Chava Bat Sara, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fredel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Deborah Greenfield, Lenore Galen Mendelson, Jenny Kaufman, Sophia Schenkler, Zachary Morant, Yitzhak Ben Sarah, and Heschel Meir Ben David Achana. Together we turn to page 371. If able, we rise for the Aleinu, turning to page 586.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'teit gedula liotzer breshit, shalo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shalo sam chalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu koreim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, ushemo bemo echad.
Even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wish to live. We remember them now. They live on in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. As we remember our loved ones, no longer with us in body, but those who remain with us in love and spirit, we rise in the following order. If you are in a period of Shiva within 7 days since the death of your loved one, please rise. If you are in a period of Shloshim within 30 days since the death of a loved one, please rise. If you are in a period of Shana within 1 year since the death of a loved one, please rise. And if you are honoring a yahrzeit, the anniversary of your loved one's passing, please rise. At this time, we invite the entire congregation to rise in solidarity with our mourners. Today, our WRT community is remembering those taken from us in recent days. Howard Goldman, father of Wendy Simon. Henry Goodman, husband of Joan Goodman and mother of Debbie Glassman and Peter Goodman. Phyllis Levy, wife of Joel Levy, mother of Joanne Citron and Dan Levy, and grandmother of Rabbi Leah Citron. Elaine Lee Nowak, mother of Robin Rosenberg. Judith Green, mother of Karen Green. Barry Chaikin, cousin of Michelle Smith. Judith Z. Weinberg, our last founding member, mother of David Weinberg, Jean Weinberg, and Barbara Groden, and grandmother of Deborah Groden, Philip Weinberg, Suzanne Laswell, and Sarah Dynaberg. Jim Masillo, stepfather of Kristen Friedman, and Michael Greenfield, cousin of Michelle Smith. WRT is also remembering those whose yahrzeit is marked over this Shabbat. David Adler, Sarah Kramer Allen, Theodore Baumritter, Max Burney, Mervyn Bretschneider, Lillian Breyer, Jill Brock, Natalie Boutlian, Bonnie Kringen, Walter Crowan, Abraham Vincent Cuba, Manny Doppelt, Jerry Elsner, Hilda Forsheimer, Vivian Foreman, Albert Frankel, Roy Fridkin, Leon Friedman, Ann Tuttle Geary, Seth Gelblum, Marshall Geller, Belle Goldner, Arthur Goldstein, Israel Goldstein, Robert Jacobs, Leonard Karotkin, Jean Kaufman, Alan Lasher, Sol Lair, Harold Levine, Jay Orson, Abby Mandel Meyer, Evelyn Moss, Lester Nadler, Morris Older, Mark Pritch, Sylvia Pritch, Esther Zimmerman Rocklin, David L. Rosen, Edward Rosenbaum, Tyler Rosenberg, Edna Rosenthal, Dean Schaffer, May Schleimer, Debbie Schwartz, Irving Shapiro, Jules Sherman, Teresa Schloss, Lily K. Sorkin, Dan Silver, Lillian Silver Birnbaum, Sylvia Singer, Carl R. Spiro, Eugene Spiro, Henry Steinhaus, Bertram Tarlin, Nancy Tumarkin, and Mary Turek. If I have inadvertently mispronounced the name of your loved one, or if you are remembering someone whose name I did not mention, please feel free to recite their name aloud now. Together we turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. V'alma divrach yute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dochol beit Yisrael. B'agala uv'izman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran bi'alma v'yamru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
You may be seated.
Good evening. We'd like to thank our greeter, Freddie Finkelstein, the Drosh, led by David Anders this evening. Thank you so much. We have no bar bat mitzvahs, so it's just some quick announcements. Torah study, as usual, 9 a.m. tomorrow in the Sifriyah via Zoom. Our Shabbat service next week will be led by guest Darshan Marcy Harris, my esteemed predecessor. The MRJ Brotherhood Award will also be awarded at next week's Shabbat. And Rabbi Jonathan Blake will be at Greater Centennial AME Zion Church on Sunday, August 20th at 9:30 a.m. So please join us there. Shabbat Shalom.
Page 625. We'll begin concluding our service with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra.
You can stand if you'd like, no pressure.
Nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra. Ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora. Ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yehieh betifara. Ve'hu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshilo lehachbira. Beli reshit beli tachlit velo ha'oz ve'hamizra. Ve'hu eli v'chai go'ali b'tzur chevli be'et tzara. Ve'hu nisi u'manos li menad kosi be'yom ekra. Beyado afkid ruchi be'eti shan ve'ha'ira. Ve'im ruchi gevi'ati Adonai li ve'lo ira. Ve'lo ira. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'rahatavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
L'chaim. And if you feel comfortable wrapping your arms around those around you, please feel free as we do the motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom.